Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm just going to talk about how I cut out the a disc or a circle in 3mm styrene or high impact polystyrene. So this is a drawing from Dave Everett's K9 plans. This is the neck plate. So the intention is to cut out the circle here. So first up, I'm just going to center punch this center mark here. I like using a nail because I can sharpen the point on the nail. But obviously you can use a normal center punch. So I'm going to mark the circle with this paper cutter. So previously I talked about using the hole saws and all that sort of thing to drill out a hole in hips, but because this is a little bit over 110mm, it needs a big hole saw and they get quite expensive. So here's a couple of ways that you can go about it. So with the marker, so I'm just going to from the center punch mark, I'll just make this about the mark that is the circumference of the circle. And this one here, you push down this clear plastic tab and that locks it in place. There's a whole heap of different variations of this, but they all basically do the same thing. This has got a little blade on the end. Some of them you can get a roller, but I'm not sure how good the roller works. So this is I'm setting the point in the center punch mark. So you want to try and keep this as vertical as you can. And get this around here. And just move this around a couple of times to put a score in the hips. Don't want too much pressure on there, but you do want to make a reasonable score on the hips. So that looks okay. Now there's a good chance that the rest of the paper, this is just a paper template, the rest of the paper is going to fall off of the hips. So I'm just going to lightly score these lines because they're needed for the construction of the neck. So we'll just put a couple of light score marks on there, and we can highlight them a bit later on with a Sharpie. So that's all marked up. So what we'll do now is so here you have two choices. So we can just run the knife around the score, the outside there, and about 10 or so times should be enough, and then we can break the excess away. Or we can use a coping saw and cut around the diameter and then clean it up. Whatever you feel easiest to do with something like this. I'm going to use just a knife. So I've got the knife in the score marks that the paper cutter left, and now I'm just going to carefully, with not a lot of pressure, just run around this about 10 times, and then we'll try and snap the excess away. Rightio, that might be enough. So what I'm going to do now is, using the coping saw, I'm just going to put some cuts in here at about, I don't know, that's a quarter of the circle, so maybe an eighth of the circle. That will just make it easier to snap the excess away. So normally I'd clamp this to the side of my bench and cut it, but because the camera's not set up for that, I'll do it this way. It'll be a little bit more awkward, but you get the idea. So I'm just going to cut to the score mark. So we see if there's enough cut now. So we're just going to break that away with a pair of pliers because it's not a very big edge here. So that's snapped away. Okay. There's a little bit of overhang here on the bottom. I think that'll be okay. So we'll continue that. Once again, just a little bit of a time till it snaps away. And again. So we could, instead of doing that in eighths, could make the snap off points a little bit closer together. So just to explain, I'm just cutting to the score line. As I said before, you could just cut the whole thing out with the coping saw. So if we just scored it with this blade, we'd have a line to track on. Let me get that out of the way so I can see what we're doing. So might not pick up too well on the camera, but I can see the score line pretty good. If I just run a Sharpie in that line, that will help pick it up a little bit better. So as I said before, normally I'd do this on the side of a bench, but we'll do it this way. So we'll just run the saw around the edge. Just so you can see, this is a reasonably coarse saw blade, so you don't want to have like 30 teeth. This might be 18 teeth per inch. If it's too close, the teeth will clag up with the styrene. So normally when I'm cutting with the coping saw, I've just made up this little bit of timber. This is 16mm MDF or something like that. Whatever you got spare. It's a bit of a hole there and that there. So I normally clamp that to the bench, put the styrene in there, and then just use the saw this way. That way I can keep track of it a little bit easier. So now that's cut out. So I'm just going to use this file now. So this is what's called a flat bastard file. It's reasonably coarse. It's not as coarse as a rasp. And then we'll just, obviously when you're cutting out with the saw, it's not quite as accurate to the line because you don't want to cut on the line. So it will need a little bit more filing. Because we've got that score line, we can see where we're filing up to. Because if the paper falls off. So that needs just a little bit more because I can see the line, but just so the video doesn't run on too long, we'll just the cut and snap method will be closer to the line. So what we're doing there is really just cleaning up the lower edge that didn't get cut. So there is another way of cutting this out, and that's by using the router and a pivot point here. But that means setting up a router and a piece of wood that's all set up ready to go. So for these 1 or 2 pieces, it's really just as easy to cut it out by hand. That could do with a little bit more finishing, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to call that done. So with the score lines that I put there, I'll just highlight that with like a fine point Sharpie or a texter. So I'm just highlighting that. So the circle still needs a little bit of work on it to just tidy up the edges a bit more with the file. This piece will need this cut out, but I've already discussed how we can do that in a previous video. But that's our circle there. It's not perfectly round, but then I don't think it really needs to be, as long as it's close. Okay. Thank you for watching. See you next time.